Whenever I fly out of DIA in the morning, I like to go early enough to have breakfast at Root Down in Terminal C. And so earlier this fall, I flew to Boston, and I got there early enough to have plenty of time to have breakfast at Root Down. I was so excited. And I got to security, and I had a cracked screen on my phone. I confess it had been 6 months that it cracked and I hadn't dealt with it. So, but it didn't read my mobile boarding pass. So I had to go back to ticketing and print my boarding pass. And this was so annoying because it was cutting into my breakfast at Root Down. I had plenty of time, but it was cutting into my breakfast. So I go get my printed boarding pass. I come back through security to go through again. And this time my bag gets pulled aside to be hand inspected. And so I'm standing there by the TSI guy who's going into my bag. He puts his hand in my bag and he pulls out the offending item and he goes, "It was my glass dildo." So So he just looks at it and he goes like this, and you might wonder why I was traveling with my glass dildo. I was leading this training in Boston, and I was staying in a luxury hotel in Boston, so I was like, why not bring my glass dildo? And other people have said, glass dildo, isn't that uncomfortable? And to that I say, no. It was hand blown. It was hand blown by a friend of mine who was a glass blower, and it had this swirl. It was clear glass, and it had this swirl of red glass in the middle of it. So it was a really stunning piece of work. Anyway, so the guy zips up my bag, and I head to Root Down, and I'm kind of tickled. I'm just tickled with delight that this happens. I'm smiling as I walk away, and I take the train to Terminal C. I'm actually flying out of Terminal B, but I love Root Down so much that I made a special trip to Terminal C. So I get there, I order my breakfast, I order a cup of coffee, I'm ready to just like kick back and do some work before I get on my flight. So I turn to my bag and I go to pull out my laptop, and I realize that I've left my laptop at security. So my breakfast comes in that moment. I wolf it down, I pay my bill, and I go back, and I'm thinking I can just like get on the tram and like go up those back steps, grab my computer, get back to Root Down in time for a cup of coffee. But no. I have to go out into the airport and through security again. So I go through security again, and my bag gets pulled aside again. To be hand inspected. And this time he unzips the bag and he goes in and he pulls out my glass dildo. Stone face. He inspects it and then he puts it back in. Does not make eye contact with me. And then I say, I've already been through security once and I left my computer here, where would it be? So he says, over there at the podium. So I go over to the podium. I said, I'm here to get my computer. Please tell me you have it. And he said, oh, darn. We just took it to Lost and Found. So I say, where's Lost and Found? And they say, see that restroom sign over there? Go under the restroom sign, around the corner, past baggage claim, to that bank of elevators, down to the ground floor, down the hallway, through a set of double doors, up a little staircase, and then you'll see a window, and there's Lost and Found. And I say, no, this is not okay. Now I have a flight to catch. I do not have time to follow that maze to Lost and Found. You've got to do something. And he says, well, that's where your computer is. And that moment was when an alarm went off on my phone. I have a 10 a.m. alarm that goes off every morning and says, it's fun to be me. So my alarm went off, and I was like, okay, let's do this. So the nice TSI guy walked with me to Lost and Found, and we speed walked together past the restroom sign and baggage claim and down the elevator and down the hallway and up the stairs and through the double doors to Lost and Found, where I was reunited with my computer. Put it in my bag, and now I have to go through security for the fourth time. So I go through again, I put my bag on the conveyor belt, it gets pulled aside for hand inspection again. And this time there's a woman TSA agent, and I'm standing there by my bag, I'm like, all right, here we go. And, and as she walks towards the bag, she can see the screen, and she looks at me and she says, I know what that is. And she comes up to the bag and she says, I just have to touch it. So she puts her gloves on her hands and reaches in and she's like, okay, we're good. You have fun, girl. And then we zip up the bag, and I take the bag, and now I've got to catch my flight. So I take the tram, and I get to Terminal B, and I get off, and the moving walkway is broken, and of course my gate is at the very end of the terminal, and so I'm running down the terminal, and I get to the very last gate, and nobody is there. Nobody is there, and I'm like, and then a guy comes out of the jetway and he says, he sees me running, he says, Boston! And I say, Boston! And he turns around and he says, one more! And so then I run, me and my dildo run down the jetway. And I slip into the door and I sit down. Moments before they close the door, I sit down and I say, it is fun to be me.